are listening to Outstanding Paul, Outstanding Paul.
Welcome back to the Ask for Waite Radio Breakfast Show. Now, Louise, if that's not going to put you in a good mood listening to my jingle, so I actually decided I'd rather be called Original Paul than Outstanding Paul, but you know, you can't have everything.
Well, it's a great jingle, Paul.
Yeah. Louise Bensley. Who is Louise Bensley? So Louise Bensley is a remarkable lady that I met for the first time, I think, about 4 weeks ago. And I think both of us probably ought to acknowledge a remarkable chap, really, Glyn Ford, who is like a dynamo, isn't he? He's like it never
fantastic.
stops.
Yeah, fantastic guy.
He may be the only person I've ever met in my life that makes me feel exhausted, and I actually feel so I'm normally the person who has too many ideas, Louise. You know, I have too many ideas. I try to do too much, and I find myself with Glyn saying, "Slow down, slow down," you know. So he's actually well to the right of me, which is an enormous achievement.
He seems to have so much energy. He's just like my husband Lee, that, you know, between them they come up with some great ideas, and also you as well. You know, it's a great place to be at the minute.
Yeah, So I think we ought to say about Glyn Ford, because obviously one of the reasons we do these interviews, Louise, and I have a live show on a Friday afternoon as well, is the whole point is, you know, for people to listen to our stories and our messages and learn from them, maybe get strength, you know, pick themselves up, all these sort of things. So Glyn Ford himself is a man who has every reason to sit at home doing nothing, feeling sorry for himself, some quite severe, really, medical issues. You know, I've sat having meetings with him before where he stood up holding his drip. You know, it's absolutely. But you know, he basically, you know, he'll have an operation, and then 2 days later you're sat in front of him in his funny shorts and his rather strange pink tennis shoes. I'm just saying that because if he was here now, he'd be beating the crap out of me. So I'm just. But yeah. Anyway, so through Glyn's auspices, Glyn's really got behind Louise's charity, which is called Next Steps, and the head office is in Barnsley. And basically, Glyn said to me, you know, which he's allowed to do because he's effectively probably the only person that's my boss. So he basically said, you know, Vassal Waite, you've got to get your butt into Barnstable and meet these lovely people because you're going to help me make them great, basically. So, so it came to pass, and so the Waite Mobile turned up in Barnstable. And I met Louise, who's the founder of Next Steps, and her husband Lee, and of course the highlight was having a full English breakfast in their own canteen.
Definitely, always the highlight.
Yeah,
every Friday morning, Fry Up Friday.
Yeah, and so just to be clear, so what is Next Steps? So we're gonna find out a bit later on what exactly what it's all about. But Next Steps is a charity that you formed only about 3 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 years, January. Yeah, a long, hard battle to get a charity set up, but well worth it.
Yeah, so it's one of those, you know, I'm not someone to be hyperbolic or whatever the word is, but it'd be one of those rare instances in your life where you sit down and you watch other people and you feel humble. That'd be a word I'd use, humble and just amazed at the courage and character of the people around you, and also how decent, you know, some people are, and how giving, you know, of themselves. So I think, you know, I sent an email to Louise at the weekend about this. I think the visit to Barnstable was life-changing, hopefully for both of us. Anyway, so
definitely.
Who is Louise Bensley? So she's got a bit of a funny accent. Her husband's got an even worse one. I think, which one of you supports Aston Villa, to be clear, or do you both?
Neither one. We're West Bromwich Albion fans.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you said that, because obviously I would have had to sit there with you taking the mickey because of Aston Villa's away wins. So you both support the Baggies?
Yes, definitely. Baggies through and through.
Ah, well, someone's got to, I suppose. So is that where you were born? But
Yeah,
not
so
the
I
fi-
was born in a place called Great Bridge.
Okay, where's that?
And so I am a typical yam yam, as we are called.
Oh,
So we're from the Black Country, which is by Dudley.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I was born and grew up there. Yeah.
So what were your parents like? What sort of environment did you grow up in?
Yeah, so I'm from a family that my parents did separate when I was a baby, so I don't actually
Oh,
never met my dad.
really?
Yeah, really, and that was quite tricky. I was got a few stepdads, moved around a bit, and it was pretty unstable. And over weekend I used to go off to my nan and granddad's caravan in Blackpool, which was my highlight of my week. I would have my pie and chips and it would all be great. Ready back to school on the Monday. But I'm not going to say I had an easy upbringing. I really didn't. It was quite stressful.
And did your mum work?
Yeah, my mum was an accountant.
No.
Yeah, and my stepdad was a slaughterman.
Well, I'm sure there's a joke there somewhere. I'll have to
Yeah,
think about that one later. What
I'm
you,
sure there is.
so was your mum a proper accountant, if you know what I mean, or was she a bookkeeper?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, she was a proper accountant. She worked for a big slaughterhouse company in the Midlands. Yeah, and we was lucky as children. We was always fed well and looked after. But if I was to say that I came back from a stable background, that wouldn't be true because I was bullied by my stepfather. For
Really?
being yeah for being a bit on the chunkier side when I was younger. Um, and that was quite fraught. I think when you're a young girl and you may carry a little bit of extra weight, being bullied is not the way forward really. And
So why
that's
would?
always
Sorry.
resonated with me,
Hmm.
bullying and being anti-bullying.
Yeah. Why would he bully you because you were overweight?
So I had a stepbrother and he used to go and buy my stepbrother chocolate, but he wouldn't bring me any because I was overweight.
Hmm.
And used to tell me I was fat. And
Mm.
yeah, and as you say, as a young girl, you don't really want to be hearing that.
So without prying too much, would it be true to say that you weren't treated the same as your stepbrother by him?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't treated the same. That's why I always used to go away with my nan and granddad over weekend. That was my time with them. They truly doted on me, and that was my special time with them.
So was that your maternal grandparents or your
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
And did
Got
they live in a
fond
caravan?
memories of that.
Did they live in a caravan all the time?
No, they just had a holiday caravan. They lived
Okay.
around the corner from myself, but they used to take us up in my granddad's little old maxi
Hmm.
every weekend, and yeah, it was just lovely. I had friends up there. I used to go to the swimming pool. It was just really lovely.
No, it's interesting. So I can't say that. So I would say, certainly in the early years, I had a very happy childhood, but I used to spend a lot of time with my grandparents on the maternal side in a village called Stegursey, where I was actually christened, which is in West Somerset. And I would definitely say that the gran would be the person I loved the most in my life. It was like she would have done anything for me, And I've told this story many times. One of the things I remember her saying to me, I can't remember how old I was then, maybe about 13. She grabbed hold of my ears and she said, "Paul, you're all full of mischief and nonsense, and don't you ever change." And so I blame my behaviour on my gran because, she told me I had to carry on being like I was. So, and my granddad, for instance, so I started playing rugby when I was 10, and my granddad would go to every single rugby match I played in, home and away. So that would mean, so he lived in Stegursey. So for people who wouldn't know, it was quite close to Hinkley Point, actually, which is
All
obviously
right.
a very big nuclear power station. So he probably lives, say, 10 miles from Bridgewater, for those of you who know where that was. So he might go to, Bristol, maybe Bristol Grammar School, say, maybe even halfway up into Gloucestershire, those sort of places. I'd run on the pitch, and Grandad was always there on the sidelines, you know. And
That's lovely.
it's yeah, I think it's I've never lost that actually, you know. And
No.
he was a very quiet man with enormous strength, probably the strongest man per pound I've ever come.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough.
My granddad was a HGV driver,
he?
ironically. Yeah, and he taught people to drive HGV lorries. So yeah, that's what he done.
If he was around today, he'd be on £75,000 a year. Or I think I read somewhere yesterday in the business section of the Telegraph that fruit growers are being paid the equivalent of £62,000 per annum.
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah, so the price of your cherries going up. I have to say, I remember going to Blackpool for the very first time, and it was I remember being so excited. I can actually even remember roughly the B&B we stayed in, and I can remember sort of walking along the beach. And of course, the highlight for me was the pleasure park. Did you ever go on the Figure of Eight and all that sort of thing?
Yeah. My granddad actually was one of the first people to go on their new Big Dipper ride. So he put his name forward, and we all stood and watched him.
Yeah, it is. So you would go there every weekend, would you?
Yeah, most weekends. Yeah. Their caravan was at a place called Garstang, so it was just outside Blackpool. So we didn't always go into Blackpool. Probably once a month or so, have a walk down the front, get some rocks and candy floss. But yeah, I mean, it was, even now we take our children back just to have a little walk, and it just brings back so many lovely memories of being a child.
And did you being in Blackpool so often, did that affect your social life? Did you manage to still have lots of friends or not? Were you a bit?
Yeah. I was a prefect at school, and sometimes people see that as good or bad. I did have a lot of friends. I like to think I'm quite a friendly person, and make friends quite easily. So we had a great group of girls all together. We was a nice bunch, and I still stay in contact with a couple now. So
very good. So what were your favourite subjects at school? What things did you like doing?
Maths, 100%.
Yeah?
I was a maths girl. Yeah, still am.
Amazing.
Yeah, love maths.
It's interesting actually. It's been proven that people with really strong mathematical brains are actually maybe the most intelligent people there are. And certainly I've done detailed analysis on chartered accountancy, for instance, and someone with a maths degree has a 30% greater chance of qualifying as a chartered accountant than the person with an accountancy degree, which is quite staggering, really. So
yeah.
So if you're anything like me, you probably think, I can imagine how you think now. So apparently there's 10 different ways that people can think. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
So some people think in pictures. Although you wouldn't necessarily get this, because I'd say I would be considered to be a relatively extroverted person. When it comes to thinking, I'm very access memory bank. I tend to think in flowcharts actually.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how you think?
Graphs. Yeah, I do. I'm a bit like you. Do think in flowcharts, graphs, numbers. That's me.
So how far did you take this maths prowess? How far did that go, that journey?
So I'm an AAT level 4 in accountancy. I love studying. I study everything. If there's anything at work that we need to learn, I'm the one that'll sit and study it over weekend. I absolutely believe in bettering ourselves all the time. It doesn't matter where we come from. It's about what we want to achieve in life. You don't have to put massive goals. It's what you personally want to achieve. And for me, if I learn new things every week, then I'm happy.
Yeah, no, it's good. So, did you go to university or did you leave school, and what did you do then?
No, well, I left school. I got a job when I was 16.
Yeah. Why was that?
So it was a timber company, and I worked in the accounts office. So I went straight into doing accounts at 16, and then continued just working in accounts You know, I've only ever worked for 2 companies apart from myself. You know, I really enjoyed my jobs, to be honest. And I met my husband at my first job, so that's a win-win.
You met Lee at the first job?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he was a joiner that worked there. Yeah, he used to get on my nerves, to be honest, Paul, if I'm honest. You know,
Probably still does, because you're his wife.
he used to turn in late, and I used to deduct his wages, and he used to drive me insane, to be honest. But that was the days.
So, do you think? Sorry, without prying too much, do you think that there was an amount of instant attraction, or was it more of a growing thing?
Lee's 5 years older than me, and I was only 16, and we both went off and married other people. There was a bit of an instant attraction, and it became evident after we met up after that, you know, we did actually was fond of each other at work, but we just, you know, never took it any further. And, you know, things, I believe in karma, and what was meant to be was meant to be. So, you know, we've got a great thing now and a lovely life. So, you know, I can't ask for anything better, really.
So he forgave you for stopping his wages, did he?
Well, yeah, we still have a few words about that, to be honest. You know, I'm not happy with what he done. Put me on the spot as a young 16-year-old girl.
So I think this will be a good point to play your first song today. Has music been a big thing in your life?
We love music. The whole house loves music. My daughter, she sings. You know, UB40 is a big thing in our house. You know,
really?
we Brummies love a bit of UB40. And yeah, we've always got music playing, always.
I did actually see UB40 in concert in their pomp. And of course, I think the saxophonist died recently. I think
it did last week or the week before.
Yeah.
I've sat on his knee.
That sounds a bit disturbing. How old
when
were you
I was
at the
a young girl.
Yeah. I mean, Father Christmas has an excuse, doesn't he? But let's not go there. I think my mind is going to be overdoing it all day now. I have to say, the song I absolutely love that they do is "Rat in the Kitchen."
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we'll have to play that.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point, it's just a great song. Anyway, so why have you picked Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Because obviously the charity is all around, the work we do is around disability, and my son Josh, and this was the song that Josh was born to. It was Breakfast at Tiffany's. I had a C-section. I had a really tough time, and this was the song that was playing.
That's a pretty good reason. So let's take it away.
Aspen Waite Radio. Paul Waite.
It was Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I now have a new cup of tea, so I'm happy. Or as the song says, at this moment I am happy. Anyway, so you've been a boring accountant like me, so that's exciting. It means we can share dull, boring stories together at some point.
Definitely.
How did this? I don't know what we'd call it. So, in my opinion, and this is obviously in early days, I would say that Louise follows her nose. So you'd be a lady of great conviction who basically sits there and says, "This needs to be done. I'm going to do it."
That's definitely 100% what I'm like. Things have to change, and I'm going to make them change.
Where does this steel come from?
Probably I would say having Josh. You know, it was very tough what we went through. You know, when I was pregnant with Josh, I didn't know that there was he was going to be born with any problems. You know, and when I had my C-section, things didn't go to plan. I was poorly, Josh was poorly, and obviously things become quite apparent that he was a very sick baby. And, you know, I always say when people come out of hospital as a new mum, you get this bounty pack with all your free little pseudocrems in, which everybody looks forward to. And I came out with a heart monitor and instructions on how to give CPR to a newborn baby. So I suppose, you know, through grit and determination for my own son to survive, I suppose, is where I get this need to make things change. You know, I can be very determined.
So, you know, what what actual condition was he born with?
Josh has got an additional segment on chromosome 16p, breakpoint 13.3. It hasn't actually got a name because it's so rare. So his chromosome has broken, attached itself onto another little bit somewhere else.
Okay, so what does that mean in simple English?
So it basically means he was broken from head to foot. There was not one part of his body that wasn't working correctly. He's had various operations. He's been tube fed. We was given a life limiting age of 9. He's now 24. So we raise those flags every year that we've managed to get another year and another year. And he seems to be getting stronger. So, it's win-win for us.
So, did you work while you were bringing Josh up?
Yeah, I did. I sat my accountancy all through. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm not a person that sits down and just lets it roll over me. I have to get up and fight and do stuff, and also going to work, that was a bit of me time, and I needed that bit of me time. And that was good, kept me in a good place. It has been tricky. There has been severe dark patches, as you can imagine. But working, I think you meet friends and you get strength from different places.
Did you get any government help when you were bringing him up?
Not really, no. Josh got his normal benefits, but that was it. I think as a parent, you can sit back and look and nurture that child, and that be your focus in life. I've got a different drive. My drive was to make Josh's life the best it could be, and that meant that I worked for everything I could. So
who looked after him when you were doing that?
So he went to school. He went to
really?
So he went to the nursery from the age of 2.5 to a specialised nursery.
Oh, okay.
And before that, my mum looked after him.
Oh, okay. So I don't know whether I should say this. Did your mother sort of redeem herself through her grandchild a bit?
No.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, communication between my mother has broken down, and she's gone on to live her life. It's a different path to what we're doing, But again, I think these things make you stronger. The negativities in life do make you stronger, and that's what I'm determined to do everything I can for the world of disability and making a change for people.
No, it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think the world's sort of made up of two camps of people. Probably the majority of people don't have your level of resolve. So it's very easy when times are difficult to sort of feel sorry for yourself, and maybe you're a lot of people in your position may have sort of carried on what had happened to them down to the next generation. That happens a lot. So I think it's really great how you've dealt with adversity. So when did you start thinking about, I'm going to do something about this? When did that seed go into the brain?
It didn't really. It kind of found us. We moved from Birmingham up to Scotland for 10 years. We lived up in Scotland.
Whereabouts?
So it was the northeast. It was in Montrose.
Okay.
Not far from Aberdeen. Beautiful, beautiful country. We had a lovely time there. I focused mainly on, doing my accountancy, and opened a little play group as I did, to support people in the local community. But then it became a bit apparent that unfortunately in Scotland, Josh wasn't going to get any treatments for his condition because of his life-limiting status. And he does need a new valve in his heart, and he needs some operation on his eyes and stuff. And so we made that choice to move back down south. We didn't want to go back to Birmingham. We was used to living by the sea, so as my younger children, and having such a lovely life of us being able to go off on rides into mountains and stuff. So we came to Devon, And basically we just plodded along, my husband being a joiner, me doing my accountancy, and Josh plodding along with us both. and it's grown from there. You know, we took on a couple of people who have disabilities, and we nurtured them and gave them the confidence that they needed. And you know, parents talk, and they spoke to other parents, and it snowballed from there, really. You know, that we didn't intend to do this, it just kind of happened.
So just get us clear. So you effectively started a small joinery business, is that right?
Yeah.
And then somehow or other, you sort of thought, well, probably quite naturally, you know, little Billy's got this. Why don't we give him a job, sort of thing? Was it like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I think because of Josh's conditions, you know, we are very used to working with people who may need that extra support. So I think we seem to be a magnet and attract people who we want to help and support. And I think that's just how it came about. We got known by local people, and they were saying, oh, can you help us, and can you do this, can you do that? And it's just basically grown from there.
So why didn't you get a mix of disabled people then, or did you? Is it my ignorance that I said that?
Yeah. So we've always worked with a mix of people. Always, you know, in our family alone, my husband's dyslexic, my two children are dyslexic, and one's autistic. So, you know, we have our fair share of disability in our own immediate family. So, you know, I think it's the fact that we just understand where, you know, I hate this word disability, because, you know, we focus on the ability, not the disability. And for us, I think that being our mantra, that's kind of why people enjoy coming to Next Steps, because it is still a very family, and you know, we're all so friendly and supportive that's what it's about. It's just gaining that confidence.
I think it'd be interesting to get your view on this. I think in my lifetime, the general attitude towards disabled people is remarkably different, and I think, to be fair, things like the Paralympics have helped with that immensely. As someone who is absolutely nuts about every sport there is, you know, that's me. I find myself watching all sorts of events at the Paralympics, and of course, as you alluded to, I think you know, achievement is proportionate and very personal to the individual. So, you know, if someone's only got half a body and they can throw something, you know, 3/4 as far as that, is actually proportionately better. And obviously, and I think that it is good that people have changed like that, isn't it?
100%. You know, I do still think there's a long way to go, especially in employment for disability, you know, which is the thing that I'm really, really stamping my feet about at the minute. I've actually got a meeting with the MP this afternoon.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I do think that the whole world of disability has changed, and I do think it's less of a stigma now to what it used to be. But I still think there's a long way that we need to push for the employability of these young guys and girls, because they, you know, they are the most brilliant people to have on your workforce. They are so dependable. They absolutely are always there. Whether they're sick, you have to send them home, you know, because they get that good feeling of coming to work and being part of something and gaining something, you know, and that's all that anybody ever wants to do, is better themselves. Even if it's just a little bit, it's just better themselves.
Yeah, brilliant. So when did you come up with the name Next Steps?
I don't actually know. I think it was my brother-in-law. We was chatting, and he was saying it's Josh's next step.
Okay.
And you know, from school, what we are trying to change is the transition from leaving a supported environment to going into a workplace is really hard. And bridging that gap, you know, that is the next step in anybody's journey, really, when they leave school to go to work.
And when did you realise that you had, in fact, you know, created a charity? And when did you get the motivation to actually register that officially?
So I think it was a bit in the first 6 months, it become apparent that we was getting a really good name for ourselves, and it is that family. It's making sure it's very family orientated. You know, the staff that we have are absolutely amazing, and it's a big team effort, and we all feel exactly the same. It's the nurture environment, and I think when we realized that it was getting a little bit big, then we realized that we needed to become a charity, because we can give so much, and we do give so much. We work so hard, all of us, just to break down boundaries of disability, and get people to understand, actually take away what people can't do and just show what they can do, and that's all that it takes.
So I guess it's nice sort of having this chat with you, because I'm starting to see things more fully, I guess. So it seems to me that the whole basis of your charity is centered around Lee's huge competence in the field of joinery, and then it's brought to life by your heart. Is that a fair thing to say?
Do you know, I may be a CEO, but at heart I'm just a mum. A mum who has a child with a disability.
Write that down, Drew. Write that down.
But that is it, and if I can help other people, we've been through some traumatic times with Josh, and I think people need to know that people are approachable, we're human, and if I always say my door's always open to anybody, please come and have a chat with me, because I've been there, and it's hard, it's tough. It's a tough world when you're faced with a very sick child.
I know you were a bit nervous about doing this, but I think, in all honesty, your message is so inspiring. I think you owe it to yourself to be an ambassador, really, and spread the gospel, because it's such a brilliant message.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, I am very nervous. I don't like talking about stuff, but it has to be done, because I can keep my story to myself, but there's a lot of people going through exactly the same thing. And these guys are leaving school, got nothing to do. Josh was sitting on his Xbox, he was got no social skills, no friends, and now he's off to the pictures on Thursday. It's come pick me up, Mom. It's great. It's just brilliant.
Okay, so I think that's a good place for the next song, which is a song by a very strong lady, which may be why you picked her, Bette Midler. Is that right?
I actually put this on. This is a very personal song to myself. As I said, I previously was married, and Lee is not Josh's biological father, but he's 100% his daddy. Yeah. And this is their song. This has always been their song.
Paul Waite.
Oh, I feel quite touched now.
Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah, it would be. So just to share a little bit, it's not quite as wonderful as what you do, but so sitting in the studio with me today is a young man called Nathaniel Warren, and it's the first time he sat in here. And Nathaniel basically wants to have a career in media, so we threw him in at the deep end last Thursday, and we finished. We did about 4 hours of recording on Thursday, and when he went to go home, I stuck his hand out. I said, "That's one hell of a way to pass a job interview, son."
It's fantastic.
But it wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't. It was a bit of a joke, because it wasn't. He just sat in the room like he is now, and was effectively himself. And I did say to him, I said, expect to be blubbing by the end of the interview today, because it is such a powerful story. So
yes.
So in effect, so just to bring everyone up to speed, so Louise has a disabled son called Josh. Basically, all the smart money is that he dies before he's 10 years old. Louise and Lee basically say, we don't accept that. We're gonna. Do you take a sort of one day at a time approach? Without being cliched.
Yeah, 100%. Josh has got epilepsy, and in fact, the weekend he had quite a few fits. And our life, people see us at the charity representing the charity, but and I often say, and I do always, talk truthfully about my life with Josh. And if Josh wasn't here tomorrow, I'm not convinced I would be here tomorrow, sitting here being able to talk about what we do, because it is a very personal journey for us. Every day we have to take as they come. We have the best Christmases, the best birthdays, because they may be the last one we have as a big family. So we always make the most of a bad situation. And, you know, that's just who we are.
Yeah, I think, without sort of getting too deep about this, I always think in situations like this, people who have faith or things that they believe in are in a much better position than those that don't.
Yeah. I mean, we fight every day. We fight every day for work. We fight every day for Josh. You know, our life is a fight to change how people see things. And, you know, for us, it is a daily battle, but it's a battle that I think we're winning, and we've got some great people come out of it, you included, you know. So I think we just need to get the momentum rolling and make things change. And, you know, the discrimination within employment, we need to get changed.
So, just sort of bringing you listeners up to date with Louise and Lee's remarkable progress in Next Steps Development's charity. So we've gone in 3 years from a startup to 143 employees. It's probably, you're going to say it's 147 now.
It's actually 151.
Oh, do you know, you've done this to me every
Big
time.
influx this morning.
I was so pleased that I can remember that there were 134, and I saw Louise last Tuesday at R&M Utilities Training Centre, funny enough, and it was good because you're the first person I've interviewed on my show that I've had a chance to talk to live before
good.
it. And of course, Louise comes in and I say about 100. She says, "Oh no, 142." Oh,
Yeah.
dash it! And so 142. How did you go from 142 to 151 in a week?
There's so many people in the pipeline that are coming down, you know, through different sources. We work with the local council, the NHS, plus the job centre. You know, we take on a lot of people, and it's just because the need is there. If the need wasn't there, then we wouldn't be taking on all these people.
So remarkable. 151 employees. Making furniture for at least 3 universities.
Yeah.
Turnover £250,000 per month, with quite considerable government funding, although the funding in itself is quite flawed and very hard to understand, actually.
It is. It's a minefield. It really is a minefield. I don't think you really want to get me onto this at the minute. Cause might be sitting ranting for the next hour.
Well, no, but obviously, you know, in the same way, you know, I'm a great believer. You know, I've written a letter to the Faroese government because I feel someone needs to tell them they're disgusting, you know, and if, you know, it might start off with a few of us that turn around and say, you know, this legislation isn't appropriate, but hopefully, you know, you get a few thousand more people and maybe it can become reality.
Exactly. And that's what I plan to do. You know, I need to push this because the people that they're supposed to be helping are the people that are actually struggling to get the help. They don't understand this complex paperwork and all these different bits that have to get signed and appointees signed and then posted off, and mail gets lost, and you're up against that battle all the time with this system. And you know, I'm sure I'll plead that there's a better system out there that we can come up with to get more people support in employment, because they deserve it.
Yeah, I think apart from probably the expected bureaucracy of the funding, I think the two things that stick out for me are, one, what seems to be a reluctance or inability of their system to process payments to wonderful people like you, which obviously, you know, worst case scenario would lead to you being unable to continue.
I mean, it can be very cutthroat. It really can. You know, it's when you've got a lot of invoices outstanding for payment. You know, the end of the month is the trickiest time ever. You know, we have to find the money and keep going as much as we can. I'm not disputing what the idea is. The idea is absolutely fantastic. It really is. It's just the old concept of who fills in what and who does what and how the payments are released, and that's what is not working. You know, to sit here as an employer and say that doesn't work, it really doesn't. And I will be telling the MP that later.
Good. And of course, the other thing, which is just absolutely defies logic to me, is the scheme only operates for 26 weeks. So
Yeah.
the young person is allowed to have a job for 26 weeks, and then technically they've got to stop. Now, of course,
They withdraw the support, you know,
Yeah.
because after 26 weeks, the idea is that they're able to support themselves in employment. Well, you know, these guys have got complex needs. 26 weeks is nothing. And then when you add COVID in the mix, you know, and then they've been out of work as well, they're all coming back, you know, their mental health is shot. So giving a timescale of 26 weeks for me that's the biggest thing that doesn't work.
Okay, so now we're going to play your last song today, which is Take Me Home Country Roads. So why did you choose this song?
So this is Next Steps Anthem, I always say. So we have a lot of events, you know, we have a lot of social events, social occasions. We're all up to a dance or two. We all get up singing. We are a very sociable bunch. We have some great fun, bingo nights, everything. And this song is our anthem, and we all get up and sing too.
Okay. Go on then. Let's dance around.
Aspen Waite Radio. Full Waite.
That was the wonderful John Dever. Rest in peace. This is the Aspen Waite Radio Breakfast Show, and I've got 4 minutes and 17 seconds left with my special guest, the wonderful Louise Bensley. So in the 4 minutes we've got left, Louise, let's tell the world what's going to happen over the next 10 years. So next steps, which is growing all the time. And the plan basically is to make it a national charity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Next Steps doesn't imply all of our guys that we work with. I just want to be clear on that we work with other employers to gain employment so we can support in employment, you know, and that's what we want to do, is increase our employer base so we can get more people doing more diverse jobs. But initially we want to take the charity countrywide so we can offer all guys everywhere this opportunity of, you know, again, it is building on confidence and the support and the opportunity, and that's the main thing that Next Steps does.
No, it's remarkable. I mean, does it faze you at all to think that you might end up being, you know, the boss of a charity with 2,500 employees or something?
No, not at all. Bring it on.
No, that's wonderful. I think
if we can make change, that's all it is for me. You know, I'm not a boss. I've never been a boss. I am everybody's friend, you know, and the door's always open. But for me, it's about making change. And the only way we can make change is if we're spread across the country to make these changes happen, and, you know, to make systems a lot easier for people to tap into so they can gain employment.
I think your defining qualities as a boss, if I may say, would be your work ethic and your resolve, I think. So, you know, I think it must be very inspiring for people to work with someone like you. You know, you're very genuine. Oh, sincerity was the word. I forgot the word. No, sincerity. I often talk about, people say to me, you know, why do you want to do this? And I call it sincerity of ambition. And you've either got sincerity of ambition or you haven't. And I think you've got it with spades on, you know. Oh,
good. Thank you for them words.
No, I think it's I quite enjoy doing this because obviously, you know, I do things every day that people say to me, why did you do that? And I don't really know myself, you know. And one of the things that I've, you know, and just sort of sharing with you, one of the things I've had to do since I started my Friday show, where I'm asked live questions by, so I think we've got some statistics yesterday. So over 4,000 chief executives have participated in my live show over the last year. And of course they ask me questions. I don't know what they are, and I always promise that I'll tell the truth. And of course what it's made me do is I've had to think about, why did you do that, Paul? You know, so I've learned to explain to other people sort of the crazy machinations of Paul's brain. So it's quite nice to have someone like you and who I can empathise with and say, if you don't mind me saying so, this is what I think you are, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, I always say, you know, the CEO job is actually quite a lonely job. I have to sit up in the office and make decisions where, you know, my husband's very, very lucky. He gets to go on the shop floor with all the guys and, you know, be with all the banter. But, you know, I miss that sometimes. So, you know, I go down and have lunch and we have a chat and a sing and a dance and, you know, that, and I think that keeps you a bit level-headed, but it also does have pressure because, you know, for me, I have to push and make this happen and make these changes and make sure that these guys are listened to, you know. So, you know, it's not always the easiest job on the planet, but I can tell you it's the most fulfilled job on the planet when you walk down them stairs and they come and have a little chat with you about, you know, what they bought with their wages the weekend. You know, that's the fulfillment I get.
So that was wonderful. So that was Louise Bensley, Chief Executive and Founder of Next Steps Charity. I think we'll have Louise back if she'd like to in maybe even 6 months' time, because I think 151 will have become 501 by then.
Well, we'll see.
For a nervous person, you were wonderful.
Thank you.
Obviously, you know, you have my full support, and I look forward to our continuing journey together. And you're just an inspiration. Take heart in that, and find the strength to help other people like you do every day.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, that's the news.
Online, on DAB, and on the Aspen Waite Radio app. This is Aspen Waite Radio.